Thanks for tuning in to Hobbs and Horror Movie Review Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hobbs and Horror. I'm Eric.
I'm Jason again.
I'm not Jason again.
But he was last time.
Yeah, I'm Jack.
We are back with movie number 2, which is Benny Loves You.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Benny Loves You. Coming in at a, what, you said 5.6 IMDb rating?
5.6 on IMDb.
5.6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Gavin, what the hell was this movie about?
All right. So this is about a guy who's in his 30s and his life isn't really where he wants it to be. He's never first in line. He's kind of not matured as fast as other people. And then he's got this little buddy. And he doesn't know at first that he has this little buddy, but he goes around and he kills people. His buddy goes around and kills people that are either annoying or get in his way of progress or just somehow interfere with the relationship between the two of them. Now, the funny thing about that is that his buddy's name is Milo, and it comes out of his butt.
I was waiting.
Actually, this is kind of similar to that movie, isn't it?
Except it doesn's have the heart-wrenching ending where he cuts off both his arms and sticks them back up his ass.
Yeah. So that's Bad Milo. This is not that. This is a man in his 30s who still lives with his parents. Because of a tragedy, his parents both die on his 35th birthday.
In spectacular fashion.
In spectacular fashion. I would say it was my favorite moment of the movie.
Yeah.
And then his childhood, he calls it a bear. I don't even think it looks like a bear, but
it looks like Elmo. It's
it does look like Elmo.
I would agree. An Elmo doll.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%.
His childhood doll comes back and kills off coworkers, his boss, and other people. Because Benny loves him, and that's what you do when you love somebody is you kill everybody.
Yeah.
But of course, Benny doesn't understand that sometimes you shouldn't kill people. So there's some conflict between Benny and Jack, his owner.
Man, when you bring that up, this movie is so much like Bad Milo. It really is.
It is. Yeah. I think if they would have just given Benny a little more time, he would have came around. I think he just
he was just misunderstood, right?
Yeah, I think he's just misunderstood. I think he just needed some time to really process his emotions of being stuck in the attic or wherever forever.
Yeah.
I think he just, he had feelings about that. And
speaking of the attic,
so
if I remember right, didn't the girl get stuck up in the attic, and then we never really heard from her after she got stuck up in the attic?
We did at the end of the movie.
Oh, was that what that last bit was? Was her up in the attic? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, because I remember they showed her up in the attic, and then they just never went back to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
You were supposed to forget that she went up in the attic, and then in the end, you find that she's been up there for however long.
Yeah.
So what do we think of this movie?
Well, at the end of the last podcast, I was talking about this a little bit, but this movie's not very well known. I mean, some people have heard of it, but it didn't get the same kind of advertising that Five Nights at Freddy's, and Imaginary, and those ones were a little bit bigger budget. But I feel like this one really kind of captures what I want in a movie about a toy that goes crazy and starts killing people. I love that, as we said with Bad Milo, I think we all agreed how cute Milo was, even though he was ugly as shit. He's still
cute.
Yeah, his glistening mucous membrane skin. Yeah, like I think this one had the laughs. It had like, I thought the pacing of this movie was great.
I will agree with you there.
Like there's never a dull moment in this movie. There's not a lot of build up. It jumps right in and it keeps going. And not every like joke lands or is spectacular. It's still pretty consistent, like, and it's fast moving enough that it doesn't drag the movie down when they miss the mark. Yeah, I enjoy this one. I think this is one of those that, the CGI is terrible.
It's terrible, but it works.
But it works. Like, here's the thing. I was watching I
don't even think it's terrible, really.
Well, the thing is it like the blood and everything, like it's all really poorly done in my opinion. But I think, there's that scene where Benny gets locked in the lunchroom with all his coworkers and just slaughters everybody. Okay. But when he's in there and he's doing that, like it like a lot of it looks bad, but it's still hilarious because there's like in between they're showing Benny taking lemon juice and pouring it in people's wounds. And things like that, and I just love it. Like,
and I guess like you say bad CGI, I think that's all intentional. I think that's what they were
I don't think they
for.
were. They knew that they could get away with it, and it wasn't going to take away from the movie.
Remember, this is an Elmo doll that's running around stabbing and killing people.
Yeah, I mean it's not even touching the ground.
Yeah, it just kind of like bounces in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I like the angle they took when they introduced the girl, kind of the love interest of the main character, and then how she has her own doll.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
too.
I thought that was really clever. Yeah. I also thought the doll looked a lot like her name's escaping me now, but in What You Do in the Shadows. When
Naja.
Yeah, Naja when she puts her her what is
her
it, her ghost or whatever into a doll.
Yes.
That doll looked just like her, I thought.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
But
I like how he bonds with her and she's got her own doll from her childhood, just like how in Bad Milo, when the guy reaches out to his dad and then finds out the reason that his dad was emotionally distant is because he had
I mean, wow, that's crazy, like those similarities.
Yeah, I'm being mean.
Yeah, I mean, I there definitely is some big similarities. I wonder which movie came out first.
I don't know.
I would suspect Bad Milo.
I think Bad Milo.
Yeah, I would think so too.
I got to give this movie, Benny Loves You. I got to give it a lot of respect. I don't love the movie. I'll be very upfront about that. But I was kind of looking on my phone a bit while watching, and it's written, directed, edited, stars one guy.
Wow.
And apparently, he did the filming, and then he took him almost another 4 years because he also did all the special effects.
Huh.
And I had huge credit to him. Like, any shortcomings of the movie, I don't even think there are a lot of shortcomings. No. I think it's a well-made movie. But, I mean, the fact that he assembled basically every single piece of it,
himself,
except maybe the music.
Yeah.
Pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I did not know that about this.
Yeah, the main character is, and along with that, the main character is also the voice of Benny.
Really?
He's even the voice of Benny.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so the main
character is the guy that wrote it and everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So, yeah, big respect.
Props
there.
to him, yeah.
Yeah, I can see why it went under the radar because he did everything. It probably did have no budget and is one of those movies that does the festivals and then just kind of everybody forgets about it.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because there's a lot of good movies that go through festivals, but
that's true.
The other thing I feel like about this movie and maybe this is because this is your movie, Jason.
Yeah.
I feel like this is an outstanding movie that if you want to introduce your kid to the horror genre, that this is probably a pretty good movie to do it because it has that playful kid thing to it while still is being a very true horror movie at the same time.
I don't know if it's kid friendly.
Well,
that's a bit of a stretch.
It depends on the type of person you are.
Yeah.
I would definitely say I would not recommend going up to a random stranger and saying, this is the first movie you should show your kid.
Right.
I would go with Monster Squad, maybe, something like that.
But if you are at that point where you want to really introduce the horror genre to a kid, this is a good starting point.
If you've got that kind of a kid, then yes.
The blood and gore and stuff, like we've said before, is pretty fake looking. So you could probably, if you've got a kid that's like, like Jack, whatever, like my son, he watched it with us.
Yeah.
And what I love about watching that with him is because he has the same response as I do to these movies, where I'm like, just give him a chance. Just give Benny a chance. Like, he's okay. He's fine.
No way.
Like, he's cool. You just got to teach him. It just takes a while,
It's not
But yeah, no, I mean, I would say this is definitely a movie, like, maybe for teenagers. Like, maybe not. I wouldn't go younger than that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say don't be showing this to your 3-year-old, but it's one of those movies that
it's very playful.
It's a good way to bring them into that world if you choose to bring them into that world.
Yeah, I don't believe there's any nudity.
No,
I don't even know if there was a single F word in the movie.
No, and it's not scary.
No, it's not scary. It's extremely bloody, but it's all done in a comedy way.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
It's very I think the best word for it is playful. That's what it is.
I would agree.
I
don't want to be responsible for showing it to kids, but,
and I would certainly not recommend showing it to somebody else's kid because that's probably not going to go over well.
Probably not.
But
you can buy the Benny Loves You doll too, not Elmo, like the actual Benny Loves You one. It's not. I want to find a really good high quality one for Jack for like Christmas one of these years.
Do they sell Elmo dolls? Can you get an Elmo?
I'm sure that you can buy an Elmo doll.
Oh.
But the Benny Loves You one, you can actually, if you look it up, you can buy them now.
So it must have been a fairly big movie if that's available out there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't, it's weird that this movie doesn't, not many people I know have seen it.
Do you know how you found it?
I think I saw it on Facebook or something. I saw a preview of it before it came out, and then when it came out, I was like, because I'm a sucker for these. Any of the movies where there's like a doll or, Puppet Master, all those ones. But like, especially.
I'm not gonna say it.
What are you gonna say?
I'm not gonna say it.
Okay. I don't know what you were gonna say.
No, like as soon as you say Puppet Master, I'm like, not gonna say it.
Yeah, you're not gonna go on a Charles Band. Okay. Well, yeah.
Well, that's a Charles Band movie.
Yeah. No, I think any of these movies like this, like the with puppets and stuff, like a childhood toy that's doing the killing, they're classic, and I think that especially when you add comedy to it, I think there's when you got like a movie like where there's a toy killing people, it's hard to take seriously. Child's Play, the first Child's Play, did such a good job of capturing that, being like serious with a little bit of humor in it, but not much. But I think that's a testament to how hard it is, because you look at some of where that series went. And at some point they figured out we're probably not gonna be able to make this scary anymore. We're gonna make this a joke. There's so many things we can do with it, and I think this does a really good job of using all the things that like the connection between this guy and this childhood toy and wanting And
I think the angle they took with this one is much better. I think the comedy side of it, trying to turn that into a scary thing is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
In a way. But the funny, playful but yet gory thing, that's the way these should be done.
I agree.
I think.
You look at some of the later Child's Play movies, and you see like a beginning, I think, of Seed of Chucky. You see Made in Japan.
Yeah. I remember that very specifically.
The one I made you go see in the theater.
Which, by the way, that is the only good part of that movie, as I remember it. That is the only good part of the movie, because that's one of the 20 movies that Jason made me go see in a theater, and then halfway through turns and apologizes to me and says, "I'm sorry, man, this isn't very good."
But I do think it's if you're gonna have a killer toy, you better rely heavily on comedy, because people aren't gonna be So I mean, unless you're gonna go the Annabelle route or like the Child's Play route and really, really, invest in the scares, like I think you may as well just go full on comedy, and I think they did that with this.
And I think they also did it with this one where it was funny, and it was funny in a way that like a kid could even enjoy it,
Yeah, like just think of like some of the props, like the throwing stars, and even some of the camera scenes where he does like the Matrix thing.
Yep. And when once that fighting scene started, I totally knew. I'm like, all right, where's the Matrix scene? It's coming.
yeah. Absolutely.
And then even like. So at one point they booby trap the whole house.
Yes.
Because they know that the toy is coming for them or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, okay, so now we're home aloneing this movie, which I thought was also kind of clever.
Did they use the plank one with the nails? Did that get used or?
Yeah, he set it off and it ended up, remember the one robot, that the asshole created was going to kill Benny?
Mm-hmm.
He set it off and it killed that robot.
And I love that too. Like if you want to pick apart a movie like this, you could say, well, how did he because he originally starts off with controlling it with a remote control, and then he just goes in the other room and these two are just battling it out in the kitchen. I mean, you could pick that apart and you could be like, but you've already bought into the fact that this doll is alive and killing everybody. The girl in the movie, her doll comes back. Like at that point, just suspend your belief, like what's going on,
and just enjoy it.
And just enjoy it.
And you were complaining about in the last movie. You were complaining about the lack of like at the end the big smash or the big violent thing. And this one, I think, did that really, really well, with just a long period of fighting and going back and forth. I mean, it was You couldn't have asked for much more than that.
And the slow motion scenes, I just love any of the scenes where he's like flying through the air in slow motion. Like I love it. I don't know. Gavin, what do you have to say? You haven't been saying so much about it.
No, I thought it was good. I'm not sure if some people are gonna like the British humor as much. I thought it worked. Yeah. I was okay with it. Like the cops coming over and asking for biscuits.
That was pretty good.
And like the thing of that, like in England, like a biscuit is a cookie, whereas here in America, a biscuit is
a biscuit.
So it sounds kind of funny when they're like, "Where's the biscuits?"
Yeah,
but like you got to understand, England's a different place.
Yeah,
but I thought that played well. It made like the work environment. The British stuff made the work environment work for me because they had those quirks that I don't know how to describe British interactions,
right?
But there's certain things like Shaun of the Dead is the obvious other big British horror comedy, and there's ways that they talk to each other that if it was two Americans talking that way, it's not funny.
There's also the way that it was edited.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it was edited, like it'll cut and then all of a sudden they'll show like a scene of a table and they're putting a whole bunch of like weapons down for what they're gonna do, and then it'll cut to something else, and I think it really like engages the audience. I think it keeps your attention on what's going on. Whereas a lot of movies don't really do that. There's just more. I don't know. It's not as fast cut.
And
if that makes sense.
There is, with no doubt, that the guy that created this movie was he's fantastic at what he does.
Yeah.
Like he was extremely talented because he put it together beautifully.
Imagine if this is one guy doing all this. Imagine if he had even a couple more people helping him out. Yeah. So has he done anything else besides this? Or
no, not really. I mean, he's got some small projects, but like this is his big thing. So
okay, it kind of reminds me hearing about that movie Slow Motion or Stop Motion.
Stop Motion, yeah.
Wasn't that kind of like that, where just like one guy doing it for years and then
I don't remember how that was made. It was good though.
Was it? I haven't seen it yet. Yeah. But I think that's what I heard about that movie is it took years and years and years and years to come out because it was just this guy. And stop motion takes a lot of time to do.
That doesn't sound like you're talking about stop motion. That sounds like you're talking about I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's a movie that Phil Tippett made.
Okay.
Mad God.
Mad God, that is the one I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Actually. I don't know why I confused it. Maybe because of the...
Yeah, Mad God is just Phil Tippett, and he, I don't know how long he worked on that, but it was literally like a solo project.
Yeah, I heard it was years and years in the making, like 12 years or something like crazy, which, that's cool, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, any like, passion project like that, I think even if it's, you know, if somebody invests that much effort and that much time into something...
It's worth watching.
It's worth watching. Yeah. It's going to be, like, enjoyable, I think, because it's like you're spending that much time and it's one person's vision. It's not like, you know, where it's like there's a studio behind it and you got this producer like, let's throw a giant metal spider in there, you know, like Wild Wild West or something.
Yeah.
You know, like, or let's do this, you know, you don't have to, I mean, there's good and bad things about having other people involved, right? I mean, you can, you know, kind of bounce ideas off of people and come up with better ideas and stuff. But also it doesn't, you know, if it's one person, that vision is pure, like of what they want.
And if you're the type of person that's really in line with that person, you're going to absolutely love that movie.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're not in line with them, you're probably going to hate it.
Right.
You know, because they're not trying to dumb it down to hit a mass audience.
But now, Gavin, you saw Imaginary, right?
I did.
And I don't know. I know I saw. God, I want to say Freddy Got Fingered. I am never gonna be able to. Five nights
at Freddy Got Fingered.
5 nights at Freddy Got Fingered, and and
the Banana Splits movie.
I think
and Willy's Wonderland.
And Willy's Wonderland. Of all these movies, I think this might be my favorite out of all of the recent movies that tried to capture the animatronic stuffed animal thing going crazy, or just stuffed animals or toys going nuts. I think this one, I think, actually captures the spirit of it the best, like the comedy of it, and the and you know, like, you know, Gavin was saying, I do think that the CGI is pretty bad, but I think it's on purpose, like you said.
Yeah, I think 100%.
Yeah, and even like, because I think he even knew how bad the CGI was, because there's even when he's doing stuff, like, you know, there's a scene where like he cuts off someone's fingers and they're just kind of floating in the air for a minute. and I mean, it's like little things like that like, okay, you know your limitations, so let's throw something funny in here to like bring the focus onto that
instead of how bad.
It didn't bother me at all. I mean, it's a stuffed animal going around killing people. It's not like I require that to be realistic.
Right. Yeah. And that's how I viewed it too, is that no, this is the way it should have been made, because it's so ridiculous that, I mean, you
might hurt it by making it
more realistic. Yeah.
Because it would take the humor out of it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm curious, Gavin, how do you feel like this movie stacked up against, like he said, animatronic animals?
That's what I was
Do you think it's on the top of the list, or?
I mean, okay. Five Nights at Freddy's, Imaginary, Willy's Wonderland, I want to like more than I do.
Yeah. Nick Cage really helps.
The problem with Willy's Wonderland is Nicolas Cage's character doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Or can't talk. And I get that, like, that's the gimmick, but I also think that
you're gonna get Nicolas Cage in a movie and then not have him talk.
Badass attacking robots and stuff, but he doesn't have any cool lines or nothing. So I thought, like, why would you do it that way? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to rank them, but this is probably on the better end of things. Sure, I'll give it that.
Yeah. I will tell you guys that from doing this podcast, I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I was while I was watching it.
Wow.
I didn't think it was bad though.
Yeah.
But because I liked the pacing was great. Like I said, I didn't have any problems with the effects because that's what you should expect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the whole concept of it was ludicrous, but that was just what it was.
Yeah.
You know, so like you can't really fault a movie for doing exactly what it was intending to do.
Yeah.
So
I have a script complaint. Can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Can I give a script complaint?
Yeah.
Okay. So the opening scene. You remember way back to the opening scene?
Yeah, kind of. What was the opening?
Okay,
scene?
so the opening scene is like there's a girl's bedroom and she's got a teddy bear.
Yes.
And the teddy bear kind of goes nuts.
Yeah.
And then at the very end of the movie, that teddy bear shows up, like right before the credits.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
And I don't get the point of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like because the girlfriend had the doll from when she was a kid
Mm-hmm.
come back, if you're going to have a prologue, use that. Like, don't make it obvious that's who it is. Don't, like, be like, this is the girl, you know? So then when the doll comes back, you're like, oh, it's the girl!
Yeah.
You know? But, like, why introduce this entirely different character and stuffed animal
Just for the beginning and the end.
just for the beginning and then have the thing show up at the end? So, you know, like, oh, you beat Benny, but there's this other bear out there now.
Yeah.
Like,
Again, I think I go back to that's setting up for a sequel.
yeah, I get that, but you could do that without any of that.
Yeah.
You could make a sequel where kids stuffed animals
Yeah, that's
all over the
true.
world
You don't
come
have to
life.
show the next animal by
Yeah,
any means.
yeah.
You just make another movie where some other kid has a stuffed
Yeah,
animal.
so I'm not sure why that was done that way. That feels like it was just extra stuff tacked on that didn't really add to the story for me.
I would say you're right on that.
And I
with that.
agree with you. It would have been a lot more powerful if it would have been the girl's doll.
Yeah, if they
It would have
had
been
they would have had the
absolutely-
girl and the doll, and then, but they never gave you the girl's name in the beginning, and then later on the doll shows up. And you're like, oh, yeah.
You realize
And,
that,
you know,
yeah.
And
That's-
you know, your clever viewers are going to be like, oh, I bet she's got a doll too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, but at least it would make more sense to have that be
It
the
would.
opening story.
Yeah. Yeah, it would. And then later on you find out that that's the girl and that from the opening scene. You don't
Yeah.
know that throughout the whole movie. That
Yeah.
would be much
And
much
then she understands, yes, sometimes dolls kill our family and friends.
Yeah. I will say that this is a testament to the fact that sci-fi movies just suck. Because like this uses the same quality CGI as any sci-fi movie, but they do
Are
it
you referring to like Sci-Fi Channel movies?
Sci-Fi Channel movies.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
This is like, this is that level of like special effects. And so you can make a good movie using that. You just have to do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to add humor into it. You have to, something to distract a little bit from
How bad?
how bad the CGI is.
And that's a big problem with the sci-fi is that mostly they're also buying just shit scripts
Yeah.
and turning them into movies.
They
Exactly.
can't
That-
all be bad CGI gator.
Right.
So, all right. So we ready for ratings on
Yes.
this?
I just want to say before we start ratings, I do want to say that the pug was great as well. That pug, how much time they spent with that pug, him washing it off,
Oh, yeah.
putting it in the dryer,
Yeah.
and then trying to set it up, and then finding it hanging, and and then beating it to death in front of the girl. Like, you don't see too much animal stuff in movies because for some reason, well, I don't know, I'm the same way actually. Seeing animals die in movies bothers me. And this didn't bother me because it was so fake looking.
Yeah, it was so ridiculous.
And that made it fun. And I think he knew that too.
Yeah.
He like really did not try at all. I mean, it looked like a rubber dog. You could even tell when he moved a leg, it would just like sort of bend, like. But yeah, I love that whole thing. Anyway, ratings.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first on this?
I'll start with this one.
Okay.
I'm going to give this one a 6.75 because I don't think it was a great movie, but I don't really have anything that I can contest that's bad about it.
So let me ask you this: if you and Tracy were just flipping through the channels and you fell on this, do you think you and Tracy would have enjoyed it?
Never.
No?
There's no chance.
I'm just saying.
I
Because
mean,
of your rating, if this
we would never give it long enough to actually make it through it.
Yeah.
And also, even if now
Yeah.
it came on, I would not make Tracy watch
No,
it
does
because
that matter? No matter what scene of the movie, like if all of a sudden you were flipping through the channels and you saw Benny doing the Matrix thing, And
I might stop for a certain scenes, okay, and be like Tracy, you just got to see the ridiculousness of this for like 10 minutes. So.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're next.
Oh, you're not gonna like it.
I think Gavin's gonna go low.
He's gonna
this
go
one.
real low.
I'm gonna go low. I'm actually very much in line with the IMDb. I'm gonna give it a 5.5.
Okay.
And it's not that I don't like it. I thought it was a well done movie, but it's not a movie I can see myself ever coming back to. And that's
fair.
And that's a big part of that rating. Like, my respect for the guy who put it together, that makes me want to rate it higher. But I know that there's a very good chance I will never see this movie again.
Yeah.
And that makes me go low, just because I'm like, it's not a movie that's going to come up in conversation, and it's not one that I'm going to encourage others to see. I'm not going to tell them not to see it.
It doesn't have anything that really stands out as like super memorable either. There's not anything in there like.
It's a perfectly fine way to pass the time, but it's not a movie that I feel is like, if you haven't seen it, you got to add Benny to your list. So.
Sure. So
I think to the right person, though, it is.
Well, this is what I was...
And I think that a big part of this is that this is just not your type of movie.
This is not my type of movie.
Yeah.
So, going off of what Gavin said, I'll say the reason I'm going to give this higher is because I have that where I watched this with Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like we were talking about earlier, it's a lot of fun watching this with a teenage son and laughing your asses off together. And it is one that this is probably my fourth time watching it. And that's because, Jack loves this movie, and I love it more because he loves it. And
right.
So, and I mean, even on its own, just like if I would have just seen this on my own, I probably still would even probably own it. But that definitely elevates it for me. And as far as, like everything else, apart from my connection with my son with this movie, I would say this is right up my alley when it comes to horror comedy. I love movies that don't take themselves seriously, and I love movies about killer dolls and killer whatever. I mean, I grew up with the Puppet Master, Ghoulies, all that stuff. This is just a...
Oh, did you say Ghoulies?
Ghoulies, yeah.
You know who produced Ghoulies?
Who produced Ghoulies?
I don't know. Sorry. Continue on with your heartfelt story.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just like, it's a natural extension of that. It's like, this is, I mean, I think that it had enough comedy in it and everything else that, this is one of those movies I could throw on anytime and just put it on the background. It's not something you have to be fully invested in, but it's also not something that's going to like bore you. Like the pacing is so good and everything that it keeps you engaged. But even if you're not, it's not like you're going to miss, like it's a real easy viewing, So my rating on this, I'm going to go 7 on this one. So about right where you're at, maybe just a little higher. And honestly, I'd probably give it about the same as you, but I'm not rating it the same as you because you're Eric and I have to rate it higher because, oh my God. No, we are not going to talk about Charles Band.
I didn't do it.
But yeah, I would give this about a 7. And like, I think like, having this be a movie to watch with your kids, if your kids are into horror movies and you've shown them, blood and gore before, this is one that I think they would enjoy.
Yes. But just realize that the blood and gore is plentiful in it.
Yes.
So if you have a problem with that, don't show it to your kids.
There's no boobs or nothing like that that's going to make you really uncomfortable watching it with your kid.
And so, in light of Gavin's research here, I would like to put out to the podcast that I think we need to start a Hobbs End horror drinking game.
Oh, yeah.
So the Hobbs End horror drinking game will be every time somebody mentions Charles Band, you have to take a drink. So,
on some episodes that could be
yeah.
Yeah.
So Just pray that we don't go off on that 2-hour diatribe about Charles Band.
You
Well,
know-
I promise I won't,
You
because
know-
I don't know anything about the guy except that he has a hot wife.
Yeah.
So speaking of Charlie Band,
Oh yeah.
so
I can't believe he got brought up.
so
Drink.
So just about a month and a half ago, you and I went to a convention,
Yes, we did.
and Charlie got to show us a brand
Drink.
new movie that he made.
Yeah.
That was pretty good, right?
No.
No. Was not good, huh?
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we won't talk about that then.
I mean, the thing about him that pisses me off
Is that he doesn't make good movies?
well, it's that he always hypes his shit up. Like he's sitting there talking about this is back, just like back in the day. This is just like, you know, like my earlier films and all this stuff. And we're going to try to reinvent ourselves, kind of, you know. That's kind of what I got from his long speech about the movie. It was not. It was just terrible. I had a hard time sitting through it.
What was
I mean,
what was the movie so everybody knows not to watch it?
It's called Quadrant.
Quadrant?
which is on Tubi for free, and that's the first place it went.
Oh. Released directly to Tubi. That
Yeah.
is not a good sign.
No.
So, all right. Do we got anything else, or do we know what the next movie is?
I guess we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
So-
It's going to be a surprise.
Yeah, the next one's going to be in suspense. So, with that, we'll wrap this episode up, and we will be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to Hobbs and Horror Movie Review Podcast. Join us in 2 weeks for another exciting movie review.